Everyone talks about math and markup when it comes to estimating. Most homeowners and a lot of builders think that estimating is just coming up with a number. Walk the house, jot down a few notes, crunch the numbers, and send the quote. But the problem is that approach is completely wrong, because estimating isn't a numbers problem, it's a scope of work problem. And it's exactly why so many projects get stuck, go sideways, or fall apart even before they start. Because the truth is, estimating isn't a moment, it's a process. The top builders don't start with precision, they start with perspective. When you treat estimating as a process of gaining clarity like focusing a lens, you stop guessing and start knowing. This process has 4 distinct stages, and if you don't do a good job guiding your clients through them, you're going to set them up for sticker shock and yourself failure. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 4 phases of estimating that elite builders use. Through each one, you're sharpening the image, like focusing a pair of binoculars until the image is crystal clear. And what's wild is most contractors only ever show 1 stage or maybe even 2. And that's why their numbers feel shaky, clients get anxious, and projects get off track even before they start. This simple process can be used immediately to get clearer numbers, better buy-in, and smoother projects from the very beginning. By the way, I'm Brian Kaplan. I'm a licensed carpenter and former custom home builder and large-scale remodeler. I've built over 340 homes and estimated over 1,000 projects. I've also coached hundreds of remodelers and custom home builders like you over the past 6.5 years, and even built my own software, BuildWise. So this stuff is what I do every day, and I want to help you win as a builder. Okay, so let's dig in and talk about the 4 phases of estimating. It all starts with a fuzzy image. You're standing there with a client after a walkthrough. No plans, no drawings. Just ideas floating in the air and maybe a few inspirational images from house. And they ask that question, how much will this cost? This is where most builders freeze. They don't want to guess, they don't want to commit, so they either dodge the question or they throw out a number they're most definitely going to regret later on. But this is actually your moment to lead, because this first phase, known as ROM or rough order of magnitude, isn't about being accurate, it's about being directional. It's your chance to set the tone. Not with false precision, but honest perspective. You're giving them a high-level look at what is actually possible. Based on your experience, based on similar projects, based on the general scale and complexity, here's your ballpark. Could you be off by 30 to 50%? Absolutely, but that's not the point. The point is to help your client understand what league this project is playing in and whether they're ready to move the ball forward. Think of it like this, you're not aiming for the bullseye, you're aiming for the board. Because till you get aligned on budget and scope and start to get some plans drawn up, everything else is just noise. Now here's where it gets interesting. If you've handled ROM well, you've earned trust, you've opened that door. Now it's time to take the next step, where we go from general idea to we're starting to see it. This next phase is called Schematic Design Planning, or SD, and this is where the project starts to come together visually. You're working with floor plans, maybe a few elevations, and the general flow of the space begins to sharpen. For the homeowner, this is when they can start to feel it. They can imagine walking through the rooms. They get excited, but they're also vulnerable, because they're about to see a number that suddenly feels more real. And for you, the builder, this is where the scope of work starts to crystallize. You're still not breaking out every detail, but you can now start to group work areas. You can apply preliminary takeoffs and conceptual pricing. And you might even start to bring in some trade partner feedback. This is the part where you need to start thinking like a builder, but continue communicating like a guide to your clients. Because they don't quite get yet why everything you've talked about equals that $500,000 number that you're telling them. And they also don't understand why a seemingly small design change could add tens of thousands of dollars to that estimate. And if you don't explain that clearly, they're going to assume that you're either overcharging, the design is too expensive, or even worse, that the whole thing isn't worth it. This is your window to earn buy-in and show how the design directly connects to the cost of the project. And if you don't have alignment yet, it's critical that you do value engineering. Give them options. Clarify what are must-haves versus wants, and continue building the relationship and trust. Once you've reset alignment here, it's time to move into the next phase known as design development, or DD. This is where things get real. The focus dial on your binoculars is zooming in. You're no longer talking about kitchen layout in general. You're talking about appliance locations, cabinet runs, and lighting layouts. You're also getting drawings that have interior elevations. You're seeing the FF&E, otherwise known as furnishings, fixtures, and equipment. And this is where the scope stops being vague and starts getting really specific. What kind of millwork? What kind of tile? What kind of trim profiles are we using? How are we running the HVAC? These are all questions that need answers. And once you have those answers, you can continue refining and focusing in on that estimate. Here's the kicker. This is the first phase where the estimate actually starts to resemble the actual project. And the more clarity you can bring to this phase, the less chaos you'll deal with later on, because now you're using actual supplier quotes, trade bids, and finalized specs. You validated assumptions. You filled in the gaps. You've connected that design vision to construction reality. But most builders either try to skip right to this step at the beginning or they stop at SD pricing. Why is that? Because I'll be honest, it's a lot of work to get here and most don't want to invest that kind of time into the relationship. And this is the exact key to selling the right projects. But even still, we're not done because every builder knows that no matter how good the design is, all bets are off until you're holding stamped plans. And that brings us to the last phase, IFC pricing or issued for construction. This is the deepest level of clarity you can get pre-construction. All revisions have been incorporated. The structural, mechanical, and architectural plans all align. You've cross-checked the drawings with your site notes, you've gone over the allowances for FF&E, and you've clarified and written out the construction sequencing. That image is now crystal clear. It's a portrait of the home that you're building. There's no more we'll figure that out later. Now it's this is what we're building, this is how we'll build it, and this is what it costs. At this stage, you're presenting a number that your client can really rely on, minus site conditions or changes they make mid-project. This is the final focus, and where trust is cemented, because now the estimate tells the full story. You've walked them through the blurry beginnings. You've shown them how the picture sharpened over time, and now they can see the house before it's built, not just in the drawings, but in the numbers as well. But most importantly, they understand how you got here. And that's the difference between someone shopping quotes and someone ready to build with you. Most builders never get past phase 2, and they wonder why they're constantly repricing, fighting for clarity, and losing margin before the project starts. But once you start seeing estimating as a clarity game and not a numbers game, everything changes. So if you're tired of rewriting budgets, defending your numbers, or losing out work to the first builder that ballparked the job, start using this process. Because estimating is not a guessing game. It's a visibility and relationship building exercise. And once you learn how to bring your clients along as the picture sharpens, you'll win better projects with better clients and better margins. You can't hit a target you can't see, but once the image comes into focus, you're never going to want to estimate any other way. Alright guys, that's it for this video on the 4 phases of estimating. And if you want a tool that supports this process, one that's built for remodelers or custom home builders using fixed cost or cost plus pricing, check out our project estimate template in the description below. And if you like content like this, don't forget to hit subscribe and support the channel. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.